It's time to see where the Buffalo Bills rank among the AFC East at each offensive position group today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Monday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, or if you're joining us on the YouTube channel, your first watch every day. I'm excited to get into today's topic where we are going to rank up the offensive position groups within the AFC East and see where the Bills slot at quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receiver, offensive tackle, and interior offensive line. And so this is a great opportunity for us to, number one, see where the Bills are in relationship to their rivals within the AFC East, but also talk about these division rivals and really get a picture of where they're at entering the 2022 season so we can accomplish a lot with today's talking points. And so this should be fun, and I tried to be as objective as I can. You know, obviously I'm looking at this through the Bills lens. I'm a Bills fan, but I think I do a pretty good job of being objective and reasonable when it comes to talking about the Bills in relationship to the rest of not only the league, but within the teams in their division. And as we know, the most important thing you can do every year outside of winning the Super Bowl is winning your division. That way you can host playoff games, and it's just the easiest path to getting to the postseason. And while the Bills have done a great job handling their AFC East rivals, I think it's fair to say that for the most part, this division has gotten better. And so we'll have a really good understanding about what it's going to take to win this division for a third consecutive season by the end of our discussion today. And tomorrow we're going to do the defensive side of the football. So let's start with quarterback, where the Bills very clearly have the best quarterback situation in the AFC East. It's not close. So I have the Bills at number one with Josh Allen as the starting quarterback, Case Keenum as the backup. And no, I don't have the Bills at first in all of these position groups, but the one that matters the most is quarterback, and that's where the Bills are number one, and the gap is huge. It's a huge gap to the next team. And so I don't feel like I need to sit here and tell you all about how good Josh Allen is. I think you know that. But 1 to 2 here is as steep of a drop-off as there is at any of these positions. And so just rest easy knowing that the Bills far and away have the best quarterback and quarterback situation in the division. At number 2, this is where things get a lot more interesting. At number 2, I do have the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa, the starter. Teddy Bridgewater, the backup. And I'll be honest, when you look at the other starting quarterbacks in the AFC East, there are questions. Tua in Miami, Mac Jones in New England, Zach Wilson with the Jets. But I do think that Tua, across 2 seasons as the starter for the Miami Dolphins, entering his 3rd season, has shown as much, if not more, than Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. But what really solidifies Miami in the number 2 spot for me is Teddy Bridgewater as the backup quarterback. He might be the second best quarterback in the division. And I don't think it's might. I think he is the second best quarterback in the division. Now, obviously, Miami is committed to Tua as a top 5 pick. They've built around him. We'll obviously talk all about that as we get through today's discussion. And it's going to be a great opportunity for him in a quarterback-friendly system that Mike McDaniel is bringing over from the San Francisco 49ers, a system that has made guys like Jimmy Garoppolo and C.J. Beathard, players like that, look reasonable. Nick Mullins has looked reasonable in this system. Tua's in a really good spot, both from a system perspective to allow him to play his best football, but also with the receivers that he has. Now, I don't think that Tua's going to be the catalyst for success in Miami, but can he operate at a baseline level to achieve the objectives of the Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, wide zone offense with scheme throws and spot throws down the field and really just kind of play to his strengths with a ton of speed at receiver? Yeah, I think he can do that. I think he could play at a reasonable level. I don't think he's ever going to be a complete difference maker, but I think he can play at a reasonable level. And for some teams that don't get to have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers or one of these difference maker quarterbacks, you kind of have to stick with a guy like this and build around him. And Miami is doing that. And obviously, if it doesn't work out with Tua this year, they're armed with 2 first-round picks in next year's draft to do something about their quarterback situation. So as the remainder of team continues to get better, they're in a good spot to evaluate what they have in Tua. And if it doesn't work out and they realize that this guy is going to restrict where they want to go as a team, which is very possible, they have what it takes to move on from him after the season. But Teddy Bridgewater really elevates this room. So Tua and Teddy, my number 2 quarterback situation in the AFC East. At number 3, I do have the New England Patriots, Mac Jones, the starter, Brian Hoyer, the backup. I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones. And I wonder about what he can do to get better. Because physically, he doesn't have a whole lot, right? He doesn't have arm talent. He doesn't have mobility. So him improving is just going to really come from reps, time on task, running the offense, understanding defenses, where to go with the football. It's all mental for him. Now, the Patriots can build around him with a certain set of skill sets at receiver and tight end and running back that can allow him to challenge different parts of the field and allow him to elevate his play. But I think he's always going to be a trailer and not a truck. And I'm not sure how much better he can be than what he showed in 2021. And so I think he can come in and play at a baseline level, keep his head above water. But the more that team relied on Mac Jones last year, the shakier that offense got. When they got behind in games and had to abandon the run and rely on Mac Jones to throw the football, it got pretty concerning for them. Now, this guy's a rookie, only a 1-year starter at the college level. The book's not written on Mac Jones, but when you start to think about his course and his path to elevating his game, I think it's really reliant on what New England does around him. And then obviously he should mature more as a quarterback, get more time on task, have more reps, process even quicker, all those types of things. But he's not going to get faster, and he's not going to develop more arm talent. So there's always going to be those limitations that exist with him. Now, to his credit, he played at a reasonable level as a rookie. How much better can he get? That's my question. And I'm not impressed with what New England's building around him. Not at all. At number 4, I have the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, the starter. Joe Flacco, their backup. You know, Zach Wilson's an interesting player. Was a starter at BYU for multiple seasons and struggled until 2020. Really had some struggles and really put it all together in 2020. Played behind a really good offensive line. You saw a lot of creativity as a passer, being able to extend plays, push the ball down the field, win off script, and do some unbelievable things. I mean, you got to pick your jaw off the floor when you were watching Zach Wilson play quarterback at BYU. Did some really special stuff. The question always was, how does it translate to the next level? Can he get away with the same throws that he got away with at BYU against San Diego State and Hawaii and teams like that against NFL defenses? Last year, didn't work out. You saw this guy drifting in the pocket, not being able to play within the structure of the offense, relying on off-script ability that just wasn't there at the NFL level. Again, the book's not written on Zach Wilson, but this guy really has to develop and grow. A lot like we said about Josh Allen after the 2018 season, his rookie season. There's a lot of maturity that has to happen for Zach Wilson. So can he learn to play within structure? And can he use the off-script stuff as the cherry on top to what he brings to the offense? I think that's kind of the appeal with Zach Wilson in this offense is, this guy can come in and do some dazzling stuff off script, but that can't be the main thing. And last year, he too frequently tried to make that the main thing. And you saw other quarterbacks come in and run this offense at a reasonable level, like a Mike White. But Zach Wilson still had to mature. We'll see how he does. The most important thing for the New York Jets is the development of Zach Wilson, the number 2 pick in the 2021 NFL draft. But the guy needs to really mature and settle in. Now, he's the most talented. Now, I have the Jets at number 4, but Zach Wilson has the skill set to get to number 2 here. He's the most talented player out of Tua and Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. But he's also the one that needs to show the most growth. And coming from BYU and his family background to New York City and everything that comes with being a quarterback in New York, it's a lot on his plate. That was always going to be a big transition. Anybody that listened to me last year on this podcast knows that I talked about that. And so I still think we have to see how Zach answers those questions. So I have it at quarterback, 1 Bills, 2 Patriots. 1 Bills, 2 Dolphins, 3 Patriots, 4 Jets. BetOnline.net is your number 1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news this season, including the basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball, NFL futures. They've got it all. Esports, Vegas, casino games, poker. They've got it all. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. It's BetOnline, and it's where the game starts. All right, let's move on to the skill positions in this segment. Running back, tight end, wide receiver. At running back, I have the best combination of backs being the New England Patriots at number 1. Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. 2 physical runners that profile well to the style of offense they like to run. Damian Harrison, very trusty ball carrier, doesn't fumble. Doesn't have a ton of speed, but has good vision, good contact balance, good in pass protection. He's just a really solid all the way across the board football player. And then Ramondre Stevenson's this 245-pound hammer that is a load to deal with. And so that's the Patriots script. They want to run the football with these guys, milk clock, play good defense, play good special teams, and give themselves a chance to win football games. So I have this as the best running back tandem in the AFC East, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson. And number 2, this is, it's tough. I think between the Dolphins and Bills at 2 and 3, you can make a case. I'm going with the Dolphins at number 2. Chase Edmonds, now their feature back. They gave him a decent contract to come over after a couple of years with the Arizona Cardinals. He's their feature guy. Good, solid back, catches the ball well. I think he's a really sound starting running back. And then their primary backup figures to be Raheem Mostert, who, if that guy's healthy, he's a problem. But that guy's just never healthy. Explosive runner that really profiles well to the wide zone, Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel offense. So a good pair of backs. We'll see what Edmonds does as kind of the lead guy in Miami. And we'll see if Mostert can stay healthy. Now, they have a couple of guys behind him. Myles Gaskin's still there. Salvin Ahmed's still there. But this should be the Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert show. And I think that's a pretty decent pair of backs. You get concerned about the injuries again with Mostert, but if he's healthy, he's a really nice complement to Edmonds. At number 3, I have the Bills, Devin Singletary, James Cook, your top 2 backs. Devin Singletary really came on the end of the season for the Bills last year, but collectively, I think he's been just okay as a starting running back in the NFL. He's got a fair amount of opportunity across his 3 seasons with the Bills. Has his own limitations, and hopefully those limitations are made up for with the addition of James Cook, who should bring speed and receiving skills to the backfield. So you like the opportunity for this backfield in Buffalo to climb, right? They can jump any one of the 2 teams ahead of them. But it's all about, Devin Singletary, how he parlays the end of last season into 2022, and then James Cook and how quickly he can become a factor for this Bills offense. So I have them at number 3. Number 4, the New York Jets, Breece Hall. They traded up for him in the second round, running back Iowa State. Michael Carter, running back out of North Carolina. They picked him in the 4th round last year. Had a good rookie season. Obviously not good enough for them to not draft Breece Hall early in the second round. So they have a couple of speedy guys that can catch the football, really push the perimeter. Neither one of them profile well as a between-the-tackles runner. So I'm interested to see how they put all that together. But, a second-year player in Michael Carter that was a flashy rookie and a rookie in Breece Hall. They're firmly number 4. So running back, Patriots 1, Dolphins 2, Bills 3, Jets number 4. At tight end, I'll tell you what, this was the hardest offensive position group for me to stack because all 4 teams are in really good shape when it comes to tight end. And so I have them ranked 1, 2, 3, and 4, but I don't think that the gaps here aren't very big. Not like I think you look at running back, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson at 1, down to Breece Hall and Michael Carter at 4. Sizable gap. Josh Allen, number 1 at quarterback, to Zach Wilson, number 4 at quarterback. Sizable gap. That's not true here with the tight ends. At number 1, when it comes to tight ends, I do have the New England Patriots. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. Now, obviously, this tandem did not meet expectations last year. Hunter Henry did. Hunter Henry was a good player, really good player for the Patriots last year. But Jonnu Smith didn't do anything. Didn't do a single thing for this offense. One of the most disappointing players in the league last year. Now, we know he's a talented player that, if used correctly, you can get yards after catch ability as a dump and run type player. But I think New England misscouted Jonnu Smith. And I think a lot of people did. If you thought Jonnu Smith was going to be this guy that just wins routes, separates down the field as a seam threat, that's not his game. It never has been his game. He's a dump and run player. And that's why I didn't want the Bills to sign him last offseason. I didn't think he brought enough value. A lot of people were pounding the table for him, but I feared exactly what happened in New England would happen anywhere because he's a guy that's underdeveloped as a traditional receiving threat at tight end. He's a dump and run player. Now, if they use him as a dump and run player to complement the do-everything player that Hunter Henry is, they got themselves something here to work with that tight end. But they could never get it going with Jonnu last year. Still think it's the best duo in the division. Number 2, the New York Jets. They've made significant strides here. They signed CJ Uzomah from the Bengals. They signed Tyler Conklin from the Vikings, both coming off really good seasons. Drafted Jeremy Ruckert to be their 3rd tight end. I mean, this team went from having nothing at tight end to having something at tight end. A couple of really good players. This will help Zach Wilson. And obviously, that style of offense, Michael LaFleur, again, the Kyle Shanahan tree, we know what they like to do, and tight ends are a big part of that. Well, they didn't have that piece of their offense last year. That's different this year. 2 good players there in Uzomah and Conklin. Number 3, I have the Bills, Dawson Knox, O.J. Howard. Dawson Knox, if he has another season like he did in 2021 and 2022, he might be the best tight end in this division, but I still want to see him do it for another year before we start anointing him. I'm high on Dawson Knox. I spent the entire last offseason pounding the table for Dawson Knox. You guys know that. But I do want to be honest about it and say, hey, look, this guy's only really had one season. Stack another one together, and Dawson Knox has a chance to be viewed as one of the top 5, 6, 7, 8 tight ends in the league. And then obviously we're all excited about O.J. Howard as a tight end too and what he can do this season in Buffalo. It's a good pair of tight ends. And O.J. Howard does not get enough credit for how good of a blocker he is. Then at number 4, I have the Miami Dolphins. And maybe you're surprised by this. Mike Gesicki, a really good football player, and then Durham Smythe, their primary backup there. The reason I have Gesicki and the Dolphins at number 4 is I wouldn't say concern's the word, but I'm interested. I'm interested in how Gesicki fits Mike McDaniel's offense because, Gesicki is a good player. You get him going on over routes. You get him going down the seam. Get him leverage at the catch point. He's got good size and ball skills. He's a good athlete. But he's not a guy that wins in the ways that you've seen tight ends win in the Shanahan, McDaniel offense. A lot of yards after catch. That's not Gesicki. He's not good at all after the catch. He's an explosive athlete, but he's not good with the ball in his hands. And does he even play tight end? Does he even play tight end? He doesn't block. He doesn't line up in line that frequently. And when he does, he's overmatched. So how are they going to use him? Is he just a big slot? Maybe so. He could still be a productive player in that regard. But as a tight end, in the pure form of a tight end, is that really Gesicki? So his utilization, his role, his fit overall is a major question mark to me for this Dolphins team this year, playing the season on the franchise tag. And then Durham Smythe is the backup, kind of an underwhelming backup. So at tight end, Patriots 1, Jets 2, Bills 3, Dolphins 4. Again, not a whole lot of separation. Wide receiver. There's been a lot of wide receiver movement this offseason in this division. I have the Dolphins at number 1. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson. Good friggin' trio of receivers. I think Tyreek Hill's like a 6-time Pro Bowler. Unbelievable player. You know all about him. I don't have to tell you how good Tyreek Hill is. Jalen Waddle caught 100 passes as a rookie last year. He's unbelievably explosive. I mean, that's as dynamic as it gets in terms of a top 2 receiver tandem in Hill and Waddle. The speed that they present, the mismatches, the problems they present for an offense. Whew. And then Cedric Wilson's a really nice player in the slot. Big-bodied player, yards after catch, he blocks, he's competitive. That's a really good trio of receivers. Have the Bills right behind him, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Jamison Crowder. You love that too, and if Gabriel Davis can build off of last season and especially what he did in the playoff game, Gabe and Diggs have the potential to be the best 1-2 in the league. But I think we still need to see Gabriel Davis claim that role and produce for an entire season before we start really celebrating him as the player we saw at the end of last season, especially in that playoff game. So a lot of potential here, but it's really relying on Davis and his ability to have a productive year this year. The Jets at number 3, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson. Corey Davis, a good player, was injured last year. Elijah Moore, high pick in 2021, presents a lot of problems with his speed, route running ability, and, his ball skills. And then Garrett Wilson, who they picked at number 10 this year. Really nice trio of separators, guys that are fearless across the middle of the field, guys that are really good with the ball in their hands. The Jets got a nice little receiver core brewing, and don't forget about Braxton Berrios as their number 4 receiver. Really good group coming together there for the Jets. And then the Patriots. Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers. Not a single one of those guys strikes fear in you as an opponent. And that's where I really get tempered on Mac Jones. Because that's the top 3 receivers that Bill Belichick is giving him for year 2. Bunch of possession receivers that lack dynamic traits. So at wide receiver, 1 Dolphins, 2 Bills, 3 Jets, 4 New England Patriots. Summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks, anywhere you want. Just make sure everyone has a bar so you're fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both, and it's easy. All you have to do is go to Built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. And have you tried the Puffs yet? We're going crazy for the Puffs. They come in crazy flavors like banana cream pie and even churro. Who doesn't want a protein bar that tastes like a churro? And they're only 140 calories. Sign me up. And if that's not enough flavor for you, then you might want to try the mixed box. The mixed box comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs. Built Bar makes sure that there is something for everyone. I got a deal for you. Go to Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, folks, let's talk about the offensive line. I have offensive tackle and interior offensive line separated. And offensive tackle, pretty good group of tackles here. I think this has come together pretty well for the AFC East. A lot of influx of talent here. The Patriots have at number 1, Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown. I mean, that's a really rock-solid pair of tackles. I know Wynn's had some injury issues, but when he's on the field, he's a stud. And then Trent Brown, a really high-quality right tackle for them. Number 2, I have the Bills, Deion Dawkins at left tackle, Spencer Brown at right tackle. You know, Deion Dawkins, one of the best, I'd say best 10 left tackles in the league. He's a really good player, but I think we need to see a little bit more from Spencer Brown before we really pound the table for the Bills as having the best tackle pair in the division. Now, you've heard me talk about Spencer Brown. I think he has an incredibly high ceiling. I think he has the ceiling that can make him one of the best offensive tackles in the game. I think he can be a core piece of this roster for a long, long time. But he does need to mature and develop at the position and take a step in year 2. And I'm confident that's going to happen under Aaron Kromer, but we got to see it before we start claiming it, right? It's got to happen. Number 3, the Miami Dolphins, Teron Armstead, now their left tackle. Major upgrade for them. Now, he's had his share of injury concerns throughout the years, but you know, he's a top 5 left tackle in the game when he's healthy. Now, opposite of him, you've got some question marks. A couple of recent high draft picks, Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame, and then Austin Jackson out of USC. They're competing with each other to be the starting right tackle. Question marks there, right? Liam Eichenberg, both college left tackles, both played left tackle last year. Neither have been a right side player. You know, there's some questions here. Both talented football players, both high picks. See how they develop this year. I think they're going to be, you know, they're going to benefit from a better coaching situation there with the Miami Dolphins on the offensive side of the football, especially at offensive line. But they have a lot to prove. And then at number 4, the Jets, George Fant, Mekhi Becton, their tackles. You know, when they didn't pick a tackle high in this draft, it was a good sign for their belief in Mekhi Becton to come in and find his form after flashing as a rookie and then being, you know, having a lot of issues last year. We'll see how he comes along this year because there are a lot of questions. You know, George Fant had a good season last year. It was really his first ever good season. He's entering a contract season. So there's a lot of upside here with Fant and Becton, but a lot of questions, and they need to prove a lot before we can say that they're not the 4th best pair of tackles in the AFC East. So at offensive tackle, I have it Patriots 1, Bills 2, Dolphins 3, Jets at number 4. And then interior offensive line. I have the Bills at number 1 here. Mitch Morse, rock-solid center. Roger Saffold, an outstanding guard. Ryan Bates is the other guard. I love it. I love that interior trio. That's the best interior trio that we've seen under Sean McDermott. It's the best interior trio that Josh Allen's had. The guard situation next to Mitch Morse over the last several seasons has been a revolving door. You guys remember it. Brian Winters starting games. Cody Ford. No consistency whatsoever. Ike Bacher having to come in and start and play games. Roger Saffold and Ryan Bates is as good of a guard tandem as the Bills have had in a long time. And then Mitch Morse, a rock-solid center. For the Jets, they've really solidified things as well. They're number 2 for me. Connor McGovern, their center. They signed Laken Tomlinson to come over from the 49ers. He's a rock-solid player that's proven in that system. And then Elijah Vera Tucker, one of their first-round picks from 2021, had a strong rookie season, and he should only get better in year 2. Good trio for the Jets. Have the Dolphins at number 3. Michael Dieter, their center. You know, he's kind of the question mark there. We'll see how he does. I mean, I loved him coming out of Wisconsin. Has had some injuries in the NFL. It's going to be his opportunity here at center, and I think he's got a really good chance to solidify himself in that spot and be a good player for them, but he's got to prove that. They signed Connor Williams to come over to be their left guard from the Dallas Cowboys. He's a rock-solid player. And then Robert Hunt at right guard. Now, he's interesting because you don't think of him as a great fit for this offense, but I'll go back to Laken Tomlinson. And if Laken Tomlinson can be a good fit in this Shanahan, LaFleur, McDaniel offense, I think Robert Hunt can too. But still a couple of question marks there with Dieter kind of being that guy, the favorite at center, and then Robert Hunt shifting to this scheme, and even Connor Williams, it's a bit of a scheme shift. So we'll see how that goes. Then at number 4, I firmly have the New England Patriots. They're really good at center with David Andrews. Question marks at the other 2 spots. Michael Onwenu, who was a backup for them last year, couldn't beat out Ted Karras to be the left guard. He's now the left guard. And then Cole Strange, your first-round pick, penciled in as a starter, replacing Shaq Mason. I like Cole Strange, but he was a surprise first-round pick. I think most people had him graded as like a 3rd or a 4th-round player. And he's penciled in to start. So I think you have a really good center, but 2 question marks at guard. So into your offensive line, I have it Bills 1, Jets 2, Dolphins 3, Patriots 4. So as you look at where I have the Bills specifically, at quarterback, I have them at number 1. Running back 3, wide receiver 2, tight end 3, interior offensive line 1, and offensive tackle 2. My biggest takeaway for the spots that the Bills aren't number 1 is that at all 4 of those spots where I don't have the Bills number 1, there is a clear path to them being number 1. Running back, it's James Cook and his ability to execute in this offense, and Devin Singletary building off of last year and replicating a lot of that in 2022. At wide receiver, Gabriel Davis. How does he respond with a big role this year? Young player like Khalil Shakir coming up through the ranks. At tight end, Dawson Knox, he stacks another season together like he had last year, and the Bills are going to be right there at tight end. And then at offensive tackle, where I have them at number 2, it's just about Spencer Brown playing to his potential. So 2 really important takeaways here as we reflect on everything I just talked about is the Bills firmly number 1 by a massive, massive, massive margin. And that's the most important thing, right? And then everywhere that the Bills aren't number 1, a very clear path to elevating their performance and having a claim to be number 1. Now, that's probably true for a lot of these teams. I could probably go through them all and say, well, yeah, I mean, if this player reaches their ceiling and develops and grows, they'll jump this team. But from the Bills' lens, you have to like how they stack up. Clearly the best offense in this division. Clearly the best quarterback in this division. All right, folks, tomorrow we will do the defensive side of the football. Wednesday, I'm going to be joined by Bruce Nolan. We're going to do the what would Marino and Nolan do compared to Brandon Beane in the draft. It's a yearly episode that we do. I'm looking forward to doing that with you later this week, and then herd mentality later on. Thursday, we'll do herd mentality this week, and then Friday, we will respond to the Bills' schedule that comes out on Thursday. So a loaded week here on the podcast. Don't miss anything. Make sure that you're subscribed. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.